What's up, everybody? This is Chris, and I'm one of the hosts of Crucial Tunes. It's a podcast where me and my buddy Larry, we sit around and talk about music. Talk about music we like, music we don't like. Talk about new music, old music, mainstream, underground. Talk to some local bands. Do it all. So if you like music, why don't you tune on in Crucial Tunes every other Friday on the Journey into Comics Network.
The following
is a Journey into Comics.
Journey into Comics.
It's a Journey into Comics.
Journey into Comics.
Journey into Comics.
Journey into Comics.
Network.
Production.
Heritage! Warning, Podcastrophe imminent. This is Podcastrophe with Nick and Tyler. And Matt coming at you with a fistful of heritage on a podcast where anything goes and there are no safe spaces. This is Podcastrophe.
Hello and welcome to Podcastrophe episode 95. I am feeding back. I forgot I set it to monitor my input last week when I did everything through my headphones. So, it was coming through the speakers. Good stuff. All right, this is episode 95, and we're here to talk some Chernobyl. I got Mr. Brandon Stone of Game Addicts podcast. How you doing?
What's up, Deuterinos? How's it going, everybody?
Wow.
Glad to be here on back. As I said,
started
man,
out so intense.
well, you got to turn it on, man. It's like even when you're like so tired, that's how you got to start a podcast with some fucking energy.
You're right. Totally right. We also got Jon Welk coming back from Game of King Chair. How you doing, John?
Pretty good, you? Pretty tired also.
Yeah.
Yeah.
As he's like,
Shit.
no, you see, you can dial it back down, but it's like I've always
Yeah.
found that when you're going to start a podcast, man.
I was gonna say you started at like 150 and you dialed it down. You got to about 90
yeah.
by the end of your introduction.
Well, you know,
That's solid.
well, and what's funny is that if you ever like I was thinking one day because I can't remember what podcast I was listening to, but somebody had like names for their fans or their listeners. You know, like I just can't think of what I was listening to at the time. But I'm like, man, what would he call like
a broad fan base?
Yeah, like
the maggots for Slipknot.
Yeah, the maggots or the army or like the Kiss Army
Yeah.
you know. And I'm just like, what would I call the Game Addicts listeners? And then
Addicts.
it's like, what up, Game Addicts? Welcome to the Game Addicts podcast. And I just realized that every day I would come home from work and my kid would run and go, hi, Daddy. And I'm like, what's up, Deuterino? And I'm just like, and one day I said, I'm like, that's it. What's up, Deuterinos?
There you go.
No, if you say, sorry.
It's all encompassing. There might be some people that says, well, hey, that's not really, that's more of a Deuterino. It's more of a male song. But I'm like, if you listen to Kel Mitchell, everyone's a dude.
You're right. Everyone is a dude.
And thus,
You're a dude.
He's a dude. She's a dude. Because we're all dudes.
Yeah.
Exactly. So that's my logic with that.
I'm glad we had that moment right there.
And I also we actually don't have dedicated merch yet because I just haven't sat down to do it or anything like that. It's just one of the things I want to do is do a parody of the Doritos logo. This is Deuterinos. I just think it'd be funny.
Solid.
But anyway, yeah. What's up, guys? I'm so glad to be here on Podcastrophe once again. What episode is this?
This is 95.
90-fucking-5.
We're 5 away. We're 5 away from 100.
100. I have been here a handful of times.
Yeah. You were the first episode.
Second episode. The pilot.
You were the pilot.
Well-
and second episode.
Well, hold on. Well, it was the first one was the original.
Yeah.
And then we had the pilot for what would become Game of King Chair. Because the episode was called
Game of King
Chair.
Season in review.
And it was season 7, right?
Yeah.
And it was season 7 and then gush about the entire series.
Yeah.
That's what it turned into. But then I was on sporadically from there.
Yeah, I think you did 50. You did episode 50.
I was on before that too because I was on the.
Yeah.
I came over. We did an episode
with the keyboard commander.
Oh my God. Commander Clack.
Yeah. So
Clack and
John,
Clack.
My old roommate, before Joe.
Surprised you mentioned that.
We shared a computer room, and
You had a computer room.
we had a computer room. We had
Big roller.
a 3-bedroom house, and one of those rooms was dedicated to our computers. And he had like a really clackety clankety like.
It's one of those keyboards.
It's a gaming keyboard.
It's a keyboard that really has a punctual, like when you hit the button, there's like it's almost like a switch. Or like on the Xbox controllers, there's like micro switch in them.
Mm-hmm.
There's a switch for every button. So when he's in there playing Overwatch or whatever he was playing,
I think he was playing Rocket League that night. I want to say
it was. I remember him playing Rocket League, Overwatch, Hello Kitty Island Adventure. But like he would sit there and he would get annoyed because we would be in there doing a podcast. He wants to go in there and play his games.
Yeah, and it's like I only did the show once a week, so it's like. And it's only for like roughly 2 hours,
right?
An hour and a half, 2 hours. And he was like, "Come on, dude." He's like, I pay rent at this house too, you know. And it's like, dude, I do this once a week. You can give up your games for 2 hours a week.
Or even better, you could not slam the keyboard.
Well, he would be in there clackety clack clack clackety clack clack, and I almost sound like I'm singing like Frosty the Snowman.
It was only one time. It was only one time.
Well, didn't he come in there again some other time?
No, not really. I don't think so.
Anyway, so we did that, and then we went to the like a live brews with dudes that they did at the North End Pub. I joined in for that, and so I was on that episode. I might have been on like was Tyler there for that one?
I want to say yeah.
Okay, because I know I did one with Tyler. I was on 50, and then it's been sporadic. I was on 4.
You've definitely been on a lot more since I've been in this house.
Yeah, I've been on 4 of the Gaming King Chair episodes.
Yep.
So there's that. Of course, you can check that out exclusively on the Podbean feed, hosted by Podbean, podcastrophe.podbean.com.
Thanks for plugging it, man.
And of course, you can subscribe to that on any of your favorite podcast providers, such as Apple and Spotify.
I don't even need to plug my own show today. This is awesome.
Well, I mean, I'm on that, man. I have a vested interest too. In fact, me and Mike did something. We did Game Addicts Eat.
Yeah, you did.
And one of these centuries, Mike and Tyler are supposed to do something together.
One of these centuries.
I mean, it was supposed to happen like right after E3. It didn't. Now Tyler's a little busy, working more than we are.
Yeah, he's working his ass off.
Okay. And I know we're just kind of rambling. This is kind of what we do. We kind of tangent into other topics, but. You know, I watched him and all of his dudes.
Yeah, I realize this is John's first regular
podcast. I mean,
this show.
Yeah, we have topics and we'll get there, but first, this is just shooting the shit kind of part of it. So, I was in there, very first time doing Firewatch where we were.
Okay.
Never done it before. 12 years, I've never done it before.
Okay.
And I watched Tyler and his crewmates tear down the entire light booth for ED Sand in 2.5 hours. Like, boom, 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 boom. 200 lights, gone.
How many of them were there?
I just said 200 lights.
No, people.
Oh.
Probably like 10 people, maybe.
Not even that.
When I was there.
Because I would say probably about 8.
So next day, I'm there in the ED Sand booth watching them put the LEDs in. Mm-hmm. It's going to be so bright in there.
Those LEDs are nice.
Okay, so they started that because when I was there, they got everything tore down in 2.5 hours. And then they started putting stuff up. By the time I left, they already had a quarter of the booth done, almost. And, of course, then I was on another project the next day. A completely different place.
I know. Matt was taking us around. Because I was the extra. I was part of the extras where they were just going to drop me off wherever they needed me.
Did you go up where I was?
ED Sand?
No, not that day. No. The day that you were there, I was actually up by Top Coat B.
No, I didn't go anywhere near there.
They replaced the burner.
No, so we're looking for places to go, and I was like, you could always just throw me over where Brandon is. He's like, ha, you wish. And I'm like, I do.
So then yesterday was my easiest day ever.
Yeah?
Ever. There were 5 of us.
That's a good one.
Standing in one spot. In Bumper Shop A, where the temperature never got above 68.
Nice.
That's solid right
That's
there.
nice.
And we watched other people work for 8 hours. And we
Boring.
just stood around and talked.
Yeah. Did you work with anybody we know or?
I worked with her name's Debbie Justice.
Oh yeah. Okay.
I started with her in Bumper Shop. One of the older ladies, I actually worked with her daughter back in Bumper Shop. You know, I mean, you work there long enough, you end up like knowing people that know people. The guy that was in there, his name was Rob. I know him I walked by and seen him or something.
Okay.
So, and then the other gal, and the same thing. I've seen her in passing. So like, I didn't know everybody, but it's like I've been there like full time for 10 years, so I feel like I can actually talk to people at this point. Yeah, like when you're like, even though it's my first summer doing this kind of stuff, because I've never really had to or wanted to, like if I was a temporary or early, I would have been like very timid, not talking to people. But I feel like I have enough confidence where I can talk to people. But anyway,
That's about where I'm at.
like it was awesome, and I don't know what I'm gonna be doing next, but we'll figure that out. Because today, as we transition, I got these transitions down. This is called a segue.
Oh, hold on. I want to shoot a shit. Here, Chris.
I want to shoot a shit.
I want to shoot one shit.
One marijuana. Fucking, I dropped a Honda Odyssey on my hand yesterday.
Yeah, I told you to quit sucking. Go ahead,
Yeah.
tell us this.
Fucking-
story. I want to
so-
know. I want to hear what happened.
Doing my brakes for my parents, and not my brakes, the brakes on the van for my parents. And when I get there, I go inside to get something to eat and fill up my thermos with water. And I tell my little brother to pull the van up on the concrete pad in front of the garage doors, where it's flat and stable and all that. It's not quite flat. There's a slight incline. And I tell him at least 3 times to set the e-brake. I go out there and get the jack under it, get on the jack point, start lifting it up, and get the tire off, start working on getting the caliper bolts out, pulling the caliper off so that I can do the brakes. Next thing I know is my hand's underneath the bumper, and it's rolling ever so slowly downhill, which it should not be doing. And I yank my hand out and away as it plummets down. So what happened was the jack rolled back downhill with the vehicle, kind of like a square wheel. And the A-bar underneath the wheel hub hit the concrete and cracked it. And
Nice.
the bumper, which thank fuck on Honda Odysseys, that part of the bumper is nothing but plastic. Not even fiberglass, just plastic. Smacked my hand right into the concrete. And kind of hurt at the time. It's not even, it's still kind of bruised. It bled a lot, but there's nothing to show for it. Other than a completely fucked up jack. That thing is corkscrewed and bent, and one of the solid cast wheels is snapped in half.
At least, it wasn't metal. Or like, because
Or
even
steel
though,
bumper.
because at least the plastic has some give to it,
A lot of give, I learned.
Yeah, because your hand would probably be broken,
That at the best,
Yeah.
broken. I
shattered.
live in terror
Hopefully
of
not.
what it would have been had it been a steel bumper. If it was crushed, it would have been amputated.
Then
Sometimes how would
it
I
really
work
do
at
be like
Subaru?
that.
You wouldn't have.
Ouch.
So
Both metaphorically
He texted
and
me this, and my
figuratively.
only response was, "Quit sucking."
Because you're a dick.
I found it.
Nice.
Okay, yeah, that's the picture I tried to show you before the show started. Anyway, yeah, so like you got your hand crushed, and like a lot of different people got radiation sickness and poisoning and death
Yeah.
because of the happenings of Chernobyl in 1986.
Yep.
And
Sure did.
all these years later, HBO made a docu-series, kind of.
And there you go.
Is that the right word?
Yeah, I would say
Docuseries?
it's a docu.
Yeah.
Miniseries?
Yeah. Docu-series.
5 episodes, right? It was like
Yep.
5 episodes. It's been a little while. We're a little late on the gun here.
Docu-drama series.
Sure. Because for the most part, the series was, I would say relatively accurate. They did a few creative things that they did. Of course, the character of the woman, I can't remember her name off the top of my head. It's been a while. You remember?
Anita Kamyuk.
Okay, so
I think it's Anita. It's definitely Kamyuk.
she was not a real person.
No, she is Legion.
Yeah, she is Legion. She's an amalgamation of like 100 different scientists, pretty much to simplify that part of the story.
Yeah.
But
And there you have it. We've talked about Chernobyl, folks.
All right. See you
Boom.
guys next time.
No. I loved watching this series.
It was gripping. It was intense.
Puppy
The cast
slaughter.
was great.
Yeah, no, everybody killed it. I also really liked the directorial choice to not give everybody Russian accents when they're speaking
Yes,
English.
absolutely.
Because the way I would have done it is either how they did it or everybody speaks Russian and you just
Well,
have
they talked
subtitles.
about that in the podcast, didn't they?
Yeah.
They talked about how like because you can't always get like a Russian actor and all that. So typically when a non-Russian actor does a Russian accent, it tends to be a little exaggerated or just not good enough or something like that, you know?
Well, I believe what they said, from my memory serves me correct, they end up acting the accent, not acting the character.
Yeah.
They're focusing so much on getting that accent right that they don't capture what they're, the message that they're trying to convey with the character. And I completely get that. And this harkens back, I'm a gamer.
I can't remember. In Hunt for Red October, how was Sam Neill's Russian accent? Do you remember?
It's been a long time.
Yeah, it's
since
been
I've
a
seen that
long
movie.
time since
I
I've
haven't
seen
seen
that.
that movie since I was a kid.
I watched it. It's probably been within the last 10 years. It was on Netflix, so I watched it.
Okay. Yeah, it's been a long time since I watched
But
that movie.
I remember Sam Neill and, of course, Sean Connery.
Yeah. And one
All
of
playing
Baldwin.
Russians. Alec Baldwin playing
Did you-
Jack
okay.
Ryan.
Okay, so Baldwin was playing who?
Jack Ryan.
Jack Ryan. There's a whole series of Jack Ryan movies with different actors playing them.
Yeah.
Like
Oh, yeah.
Baldwin, Harrison Ford.
And now we finally have a whole series of Jack Ryan episodes with one person playing Jack Ryan. What if every episode was a different Jack Ryan?
That's funny.
I mean, John Krasinski's awesome and all that, but
Anyway, the game that I was thinking of is Metal Gear Solid 3 Snake Eater.
yeah.
That game is set in Russia,
Mm-hmm.
Soviet Union, right? And the entire time they're just speaking English. There's the cutscenes where Snake is speaking English with the other English-speaking people. Every time that he encounters somebody, they're all just speaking English. Let's flash forward back to MGS2, where Colonel Sergei Gorlukovich and his men,
That's a name.
Sergei Gorlukovich, anyway, he has his own little privatized army of dudes. He's former GRU and everything. And
Former Gru. Like the guy in the cartoon.
no.
Okay.
No. So when you encounter the soldiers and they talk, they've got their Russian accent. Like, what was that? Like, huh? Is somebody there? They're speaking English with a very harsh accent. Then you go to Snake Eater and there's no accents. There's just, what was that noise? And at the time it was like, man, these guys are supposed to be Russian. And then when you first meet the scientist who's creating the nuclear weapon that you're there to deter, and he's like, wow, your Russian is superb. And he says it in English. And that's when I was like, they're speaking Russian and they're not bothering to convey that because we're just getting the dialogue.
Exactly.
It's the same kind of thing.
That's neat.
Yeah.
That's
It's
really neat.
It's the exact same thing. And that's because instead of going back and forth to, a lot of old spy movies, they would have had like the Russian accent. Instead of just stereotyping that, they just had an actor and they mention it. And that way there's no really big difference between you hearing Snake speak English and Snake trying to speak another language or anything like that. There's no narrative, and this show does the same thing, and I think it works great because it really allows these actors to dive in and get some really great performances out of them.
Absolutely, and it allows the situations and the events on the ground to unfold naturally. Like, I think of it like a dream. Where are either of you bilingual in any at all?
No, I mean I know
Slightly.
I know like words and phrases in Spanish.
Have you ever had Spanish in a dream?
No.
Okay. Well, so German will creep its way into my dreams now and then, but when it's in the dream, it's obviously not grammatically correct because it's dream physics, dream logic, right? But it's understood on a first person, like, point of view basis. That language, not language specific. Just what is being said it conveys that I think, directly down to it lets the events unfold as if you were...
Your brain automatically makes sense of it.
Yes, that. Mm-hmm. That is what I was trying to say.
Yeah. I once again just abridged the unabridged.
Common
Yes,
theme.
You did. Yes, you did. Sorry, I had to pull up the cast just so I could get
the guy that played Bogosov,
Jared Harris.
He was great. The guy that played Boris
Sherbina.
Stellan Skarsgård, who is also in Thor, Good Will Hunting.
Holy shit, he's the crazy professor.
Yeah.
I
Good Will
just
Hunting.
realized that.
He's a math teacher in Good Will Hunting, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I loved his character. He's such a dickhead, and he apparently played that character incredibly to historical accuracy, because the guy was known for I heard this in the podcast, he was known for yelling something into existence.
Well, and it's funny because like when you first meet the character, you're drawn to dislike him immediately because obviously they've already established their protagonist in this situation, and that's Logosov. And so he's like he's the guy that he's supposed to know what's going on. So you're like, listen to him, damn it. And then here's Boris kind of telling people, no, you're going to listen to me. And then he's like, no, don't listen to him. He's going to get us killed. And then he's like, how dare you, challenge my authority. And he's like, we're going to die if we listen to you. They do that very well. Over the course of this series, you actually, they end up becoming friends over their, bonding through this situation. It's very dire for them. But then, of course, like you end up kind of like sympathizing with Boris.
Absolutely.
Understanding the way he acts, why he acts, and then also like by that point in the series you understand how the government and the party acts. And you understand kind of why he acts the way he acts in response to that.
I thought they did a very, very cursory job. I mean, sufficient, definitely, but cursory job of hitting home just how much it was the reality on the ground there, that the party doesn't care about the facts so much as the party cares about looking good, looking like its shit is together, looking like it's powerful, it's organized, it's functional, it's efficient. And so when you're put in charge of something for the first time, like Sherbina's in charge of the Chernobyl crisis. If Chernobyl crisis is going to be a problem, Sherbina's not going to be in charge of anything again. So it doesn't matter what the fucking facts are.
Well, it's funny.
It's all good.
Sherbina was actually like head of agriculture. Like he was nothing, but he had enough power to fuck somebody's life up, essentially.
He had enough connections, yeah.
Yeah, he had connections and all that, but he was essentially like the fucking cabinet secretary of agriculture for the Soviet Union. Yeah.
Well, I thought he was Secretary of Energy, but I don't know, and it's so cursory.
I think IRL, he was agriculture.
All right, so like what you said about looking good and like the perception, they're thinking about one, how the whole country looks, how the government looks, and also each individual person's looking after their own self-interest. And ultimately, that comes into play. And we're going to bounce around a little bit in this because they told the story in a certain order, in a certain way.
Yeah, they did.
So like, because by the time they end with episode 4, I'm like, all that's left is the big trial. Like, how are they going to have a full episode out of that? But they actually went back and they told you more information. They showed you more
from the night. Yeah.
From the day even leading up to of the tests, and you realize that the one reason why this test was pushed so hard was because, one, the test had not been done when they were supposed to have had it done, and 2, they wanted to make themselves look good for a promotion.
So I wasn't clear on that, and I thought the show wasn't terribly clear on it either, because of the nature of a kangaroo court. Anything to make the designated guilty look guilty so that the predetermined verdict goes through. When they said that you didn't run that test despite having signed the papers, I got the feeling that the test was the kind of thing that you run periodically. And
from what I understood, that this was a test that they lied and said they did do when they had not yet done it.
Now, the nature of the test absolutely being of paramount importance. There should have been a preliminary run, and it should not have been online until it was successful. Yeah, absolutely, but I don't know if that's policy or not.
I can't remember why they were having to do it. Now that you mention that, because yes, a test like that you think they would do periodically, but they had not yet done so with. And I think the reactor 4 had been up and running, and they had already started on the reactor 5
and 6,
and those were up, and then 4 had not even done the test yet.
I don't know if they were up and running. They were being constructed at least.
So like, I think part of it may have been that they weren't supposed to start construction on that. Maybe that's what it was. If I'm remembering right, it might be that where they could not have started more without the test of 4, and they lied, and they're like, oh, we'll just do it later. You know, we got time, we got this, and then it's like, okay, guys, we actually need to get this done before they catch on the fact that we haven't done it. Okay, so let's do it, and then because you have the 3, Dyatlov, he was the guy that's going to be doing the test. There's a whole scene with him and the
Fomin.
Yeah, like the guy underneath the guy running the plant, right?
Fomin.
Because the other guy, the guy that kind of talked like this.
Yeah, I don't remember his name.
He sounds like he smokes like 2 packs a day.
Yeah, at least.
And he was the guy that very vigorously smacked the table when Maester Lewin,
Grandpa Bolshevik,
was like, we cut the phone lines. We don't let anybody leave.
This is how we save the people from themselves.
We'll be remembered for this day. And he's just like, he was so like, yeah, we got this. But, okay, so like the head dude was going to probably get a promotion. The other guy was going to take his spot. And like, Dyatlov, I'll be looking at you for promotion if this goes well.
Yeah, Dyatlov wanted Fomin's position.
Dyatlov was looking after himself. And that was part of the, the human error for pushing for this test, even though they probably had the way that the show portrays it, and the way that history portrays it, they had every opportunity to stop it, to shut the reactor down, and give it the 24 hours.
That
they
get out of the xenon pit.
Yeah, and so, but they didn't like. No, we got to get this done, and then
and that leads right into the design flaw that I felt that the design flaw wasn't explained exactly what it was, which it's difficult to do on a level like this, a docudrama especially, because of understanding the context required to know what was wrong with it. And during the courtroom scene, I felt that it was just obvious that there was a design flaw and that you weren't supposed to mention it. And that by mentioning
because they had found it like in the 70s, and they're like, shh,
right,
redacted. And
by mentioning it, and the mentioning of it was the major plot point, not the identification of it. I felt they skipped over that. And I mean, this could just be me, detail-oriented, trying to be like, wait.
Well, because you're talking about the part where you had the tips.
Yes.
The lead tips. Or not lead.
The graphite tips.
The graphite tips
lead.
was the design flaw in question.
Because I remember you telling me at work one day that the tips were actually more than just tips.
Oh, yes.
They were actually much larger.
To call them, so the control rods were almost double length. And when you pull them out, the tips, quote unquote, the control rods themselves were 7 meters. The tips were 4 meters, with 1.5 meters on either end.
So just the tip in this sense
is actually basically
it's the whole fucking shaft.
Pretty
the
much.
same damn thing. Yeah.
You're halfway from going balls deep. At that point, you might as well bite your lip and
That's
go.
insane. And the only reason they use that is because it's cheaper.
Well, in part. So
That's what they said.
it's cheaper because it's faster. So what the graphite does is it's a neutron flux moderator. The flux is just an abbreviated way to say how fast the neutrons in the core are shooting. A lot of them are shooting too fast to cause fission. The moderators bring them down to a thermal velocity, which allows them to cause fission. And water will also do this. Not as well as heavy water, but heavy water is very expensive. And most reactors at the time were running on just water moderation. But the graphite, in addition to the water, so that 1.5 meters on either end of the 4 meters of graphite was water flowing through the tube. And because graphite is such a better flux moderator than water, when they were pushing the control rods back in, because control rods are made out of neutron absorbent material that will stop the reaction process, because it's sucking in all of those neutrons that are causing the fission, that are causing the heat, that are causing
hence control
power. Exactly. And you can insert them by a gradient amount, however much you need. When you flush them all the way back in like that, in addition to all of the other things that were going on that were just building the perfect storm, it pushed the graphite down past 1.5 meters of core that it previously wasn't interacting with, which just caused it to continue to accelerate out of control exponentially, just like a rocket. That is the design flaw. They don't need the graphite tips. They could have just used water. Now, the water's not as efficient and therefore not as quick to power it up or reach as high a level of thermal energy. The graphite reaches a higher level and it does so quicker. That's why it's cheaper.
I see.
I couldn't abridge that if I tried.
Yeah, I was about to say this is
That was heavily abridged. I'm trying to leave out the nitty-gritty details.
This is one of those cases where I find it like him explaining it to me unabridged or as
even though you abridged it, it was still a lot.
Do you want the unabridged version?
No, we don't have time.
We already
No, you don't have time.
No, it's one of those cases where like having something explained to me, I don't need it abridged. You know, it's really because I find it fascinating.
No,
absolutely.
It is fascinating.
I find it absolutely fascinating.
You know, when we were first watching, Game of Thrones for the final season, and I first saw the trailer for the Chernobyl series, I was excited because I've actually watched shows, historical documentaries on Chernobyl.
It's funny because I told you the first time I ever heard about Chernobyl was when I watched the 1998 Godzilla with Matthew Broderick, because it starts out the first scene where they introduce our hero Matthew Broderick, starring as Nick Tatopoulos. He's in Chernobyl and he's digging up earthworms, and his study is to see if the radioactivity in the area has caused species in the area to grow
into tremors.
Yes. So it's really a tie-in to the Tremors series. The next Godzilla movie, if they ever make one. I mean, it's been 20 years at this point. God damn, that movie's 20 years old. 21. It's 21 years old.
Yeah.
Not the most recent Godzilla.
No.
Godzilla 1998.
98.
Oh, okay.
That was the one made by American.
Once they finally make a sequel to 98 that's not the animated series, it will have...
Oh my gosh, the animated series.
It was awesome. The animated series was awesome.
I forgot about that.
But once they finally make a direct sequel to Godzilla 1998, it's probably going to have Kevin Bacon in it.
All right, so...
back to topic.
Okay, so like, because you brought up Godzilla,
Yeah.
and it got me thinking. And you said 20 years ago, and when I think 30 years ago, I still think like early 80s to 70s, but that's not the case. 30 years ago is 89.
It is.
That's
Okay.
crazy. That's so
And then
crazy.
we think about Chernobyl took place 33 years ago. That is still within, like, I was born that year. So within our lifetimes, this massive of an incident has happened. Now, like, because you'd almost kind of think like, oh yeah, that was, you put it in your head because we're younger. We didn't grow up. We weren't sentient. We're even alive for the, like, I was like being,
gestated.
Gestated and nurtured by the loving womb of my mother.
You're in your womb cocoon.
I was feeding off of her life force like a symbiote. That's such a delicate way to put
All I've got in my head is his meme from the other day of the millennial caterpillar. One day you'll get there. It's the bug zapper. It's the bug zapper Chernobyl.
Well, like, because when you think about like a disaster like this, your brain automatically puts it to so long ago,
Yeah.
so early, and we're still like, when you think about the 80s, we were still pretty early into the advent of nuclear science and everything, right? That we were practicing with it, because that was like 40 years away from the Manhattan Project,
Give or take.
and we had started using nuclear energy
Closer to 50.
Yeah, but like, but as far as terms of actual, use and practice. You know, we really broke through that threshold during World War II. And, man, it's like, it's not that long ago.
No.
And of course, then we had Fukushima, which that was not a man-made problem.
It was.
Well,
it was caused by the earthquake and the tsunami, but what did it was leaky pipes.
Sure.
Let hydrogen out.
Yeah.
Into air, which high thermal energy hydrogen into air, low thermal energy air, boom.
Right.
Then after that, meltdown. So it was just a lack of the most basic, most boring maintenance in the
Brandon,
world.
do you know what just happened?
Huh.
He just abridged something.
Again, actually,
he insanely
Thank you.
condensed it. He put it in stupid.
What I was saying about
terms.
Fukushima is that it doesn't go quite to the level of the bureaucracy
Yeah.
necessarily as Chernobyl does.
The whole series starts off with the suicide of Legasov.
Yeah. Oh yeah. No. Like
and
his end.
It shows him recording these tapes that eventually I don't know how they got out, but
I'm not 100% on that.
Yeah.
yeah, but they apparently got out according to the showrunner.
Right.
So, but one of the things he says is he starts out with the cost of lies.
His memes.
Yeah,
Not memes.
and he says when a lie is told, it incurs a debt to the truth, and eventually that debt must be paid. And you see it. You see that those words just reign true throughout the entire miniseries.
Yeah.
And I love it. I love it.
I mean, we had the series starts with that, and then it starts like right at the explosion. You know, and the series follows some side characters throughout, you know, to make it a little bit more interesting for view.
Well, I love how they did the explosion too, because it's just in the background, and the person that they're focusing on doesn't even notice it. There's no sound. Eventually, there's a shockwave that it hits, but other than that, it's just you just hear pop, and but you see this huge explosion. The air is getting deionized or whatever, ionized or
Other way, it was ionized.
It's getting ionized, and so you see that blue beam. Ah, it's crazy.
And then all those people go out to the bridge to watch it,
And they're dead.
And die
and they all die.
eventually. The death.
Yeah, that was a nothing sentence. They died eventually.
Well, we all knew.
I mean, what'd it do?
Well, they died quicker than most eventuallys.
That is true. There you go.
Yeah. And of course, then they send the first responders,
Oh Lord.
the
They got
firefighter.
fucked. That one guy that picked up the graphite.
Yeah.
His hand.
Did you notice the
fucked.
piece of graphite he picked up in particular?
What about?
It had a cavity in it, a part of a cylinder,
Yeah.
part of a tube. That was from the center of the core.
Yeah.
That was either a fuel rod or a control rod went through that, and it's about as bad as it gets.
I love the detail in that. Like that. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I love the one firefighter that they're following, who ends up he's kind of like a main character along with his girlfriend, wife, whatever, who's pregnant. But he follows him, and you can see him looking around at the graphite and be like, and he can tell something's off, something's not right about this. And I just love those little things that the director and writer put into this miniseries to show that, like, and there's a lot of moments without dialogue where it's just very subtle music, and it's just like, I mean, look at the scene where the people are just standing on the bridge and you see the specks of dust that's supposed to signify radiation.
Well, there was physical dust too.
Yeah,
That's why they
probably.
had to wear the masks, because the dust was stupid radioactive.
I mean, you want to talk about creating tension within a scene. Of course, you said there's no scenes where there's no dialogue and there's just music or just some sort of score. That brings me back.
Oh, the divers.
Well, that brings me back, if you guys remember, to The Dark Knight. In The Dark Knight, whenever Joker was on the screen, there was like this cello or violin screech, and it would just get more intense and more intense. And it was not an actual score part. It was just it it would increase the longer he was on screen, and like when there was no dialogue, and it would make you feel uneasy. And so you get the visual aid of exactly what they're seeing, and then you get the audio, part of that just makes you feel tense and uneasy with what you're seeing.
Yeah.
And they did that with several spots here as well.
I mean, you can definitely in the diver scene when their lights start going out and they're just frantically panicking in the water
because
their lights are going out and you hear the Geiger counters going off or what we think is
essentially
dosimeters.
Yeah.
Dosimeter.
And you just hear that the clicks just intensifying and
I'm getting flashbacks to like Fallout.
Yeah.
Playing Fallout.
Yeah.
Going into like going out like for the more recent one, Fallout 4, going out into the wasteland sea, where it's just like the entire time, and you have like nuclear storms and everything around you, and your thing is just going off the chart. So you're like Rad-X, power armor.
I was gonna say, assuming you don't have power armor.
Power armor still doesn't. Like you have to take Rad-X to even get out there.
No shit.
There's something out there big to the plot that you have to go do, and you can wear a suit, some sort of suit, but like power armor will do it too. But yeah, no, that gave me flashbacks of just like when that counter's going nuts, and of course then that was the episode where like it went to black on that, right? Because the lights went out and you just heard that and it went to black and then the credits, and then of course the next episode you see that they actually had like a manual crank flashlight.
Just going nuts on those things.
And then those divers ended up dying as well.
Eventually, they all lived. Actually, they didn't get acute radiation syndrome, and that's just because of the sealed suits that they had, which kept the water out from contacting them. Now, their air was irradiated, obviously, but they weren't breathing the dust, and they didn't come into contact with the water. So they did get a lethal dose, but not enough to die of acute radiation syndrome, which is what we were watching happen to the firefighters in the hospital. Right. So, I mean, they died of probably thyroid cancer.
Yeah, that's what the podcast said. Which, if anybody has watched this series and you're into podcasts, or if you want a much better look into these episodes, listen to the Chernobyl podcast. You can get it directly from HBO or basically any of the podcasting platforms. I mean, I listen to it through Apple Podcasts, so I'm pretty sure it's on iPane. They mention it's on Stitcher and Google Play.
It was cool because after
Spotify.
every episode, the podcast would be up. And if you're gonna watch the series and you really are into it, watch the episode and then listen to the podcast because it kind of dives into a little bit more detail. And they also explain why they did certain things, why they showed certain things the way they did, and kind of like just flesh it out a little bit more. It's really cool.
Yeah, and then they also give a lot of backlog on like the actual events that happened.
Yeah,
like the people, like Akimov, Anatoly Akimov. He was like he was the giant asshole in the room saying, "No, fucking do it, or I'm gonna fucking ruin your career."
No, that was Dyatlov. Akimov is the one saying no.
According to the cast, it's Akimov.
In real life?
No, in the cast of the show. I mean, I'll pull up the picture of the dude, and it's like, okay.
Akimov and Topchinov are the two running the control rods.
Yeah, Paul Ritter, Dyatlov. My bad.
Shown up on your own podcast.
Okay, yeah, I fucked up. Yeah, Paul Ritter, Anatoly Dyatlov. I mean, I'm looking at him, I'm like, yep, that's the dude.
His excuse.
I wonder if his name was Annie.
His excuse for why, he's like, I wasn't in the room when they did this.
I was in the toilet.
The toilet.
I was in the shitter.
Everybody's like,
yeah.
weren't.
Yeah.
I liked how Valeri was like, then where were you? And fucking Tywin goes, you are not the prosecutor
Not
here.
Tywin, no.
Bolton.
Roose
Bolton.
Roose went,
Like, you are not the prosecutor.
hey, Dyatlov, where were you?
Where were you?
I like my job.
Yeah, that guy was a giant dickhead. And even afterwards, after the whole thing, and he was like, doesn't matter. Doesn't matter.
Yes, so like didn't all three of them get sentenced to Siberia?
Yep.
10 or more years hard labor.
Okay, so the guy who was the second head, he ended up going back to work in the same field.
Fomin.
Yeah, I mean, I have a hard time remembering the names now. It's been so long.
Yeah, I don't.
It's been a whole month. I mean, since I watched the series, but yeah, he went back to work because I can't remember what happened to the other guy because they don't really say.
Dyatlov died.
Well, no, him. He died in like 94, 95 of, complications of, radiation. But the other dude, the guy that talks like this,
Probably emphysema.
yeah, probably. I mean, he sounded like he already had it. And then, of course, all the miners that died.
That was really interesting because the reason, according to the podcast, the main reason they were trying to keep this so hush and why they were trying to really push the power of nuclear energy was because of the coal miners. It was because the coal miners provided nearly all of the energy for the Soviet Union, so therefore they had power.
Yeah.
If they didn't want to work, Russia wasn't powered, or Soviet Union wasn't powered. So they were trying to push nuclear energy so they could put coal miners out of business or out of power.
The megawatt to fuel input ratio of nuclear is way better than coal fired.
And even these days, it's one of the cleanest sources of energy we have.
Provided that nothing goes wrong, and provided that the spent fuel is properly disposed of, which there is no currently in use proper disposal chamber. There is one that is built, but because of backyard legislation, we don't use it. It's ours. We have it. That's us.
Yeah.
Good job, us.
Yeah. It's the mountain, right? Yucca Mountain.
Yucca Mountain. Good name for it. Mm-hmm. The Finns are building another one.
That's good.
Which will likely get used.
Finland knows how to do things.
Oh, yes. They do.
No, I mean, they do things, and they mostly, from as far as I've seen, they do things right.
Oh, I just assumed you were talking about the Soviet-Finn war.
No,
because
I'm just talking in general.
Finland, little old fucking Finland, held off the entire Soviet Union until they reached a standstill. And
I'm either thinking of Sweden or Finland. I might be thinking of Sweden. They know how to do things.
IKEA, absolute.
Yeah. Scandinavia.
Vikings.
Let's just broaden it. It's just Scandinavia.
So all three of them.
Yeah, all of them.
That doesn't. Yeah,
I had an interesting talk today while I was at Bob Rorman Subaru.
What?
I was there for reasons that I'll get into in a little bit, maybe.
Are you buying another Ascent?
No, I was trying to get rid of my Ascent.
Huh?
So live on the show, how did that go?
So we talked. I think yesterday.
Yeah.
I was there for like 2 hours, waiting just to be talked to, and they're like, because the reason I was going there is because I am paying way too much for this thing, and I mean I can afford it. I can afford all the payments. I don't get behind on anything. Nothing. It's just I looked at my check. I made X when I could have made Y. And
but why?
Yeah, I was say you did that backwards. You made Y.
Whatever. Words.
Letters.
Reasons. So I could have made this, but I'm making this instead. I feel like I could do a lot more with my money. So I was like, okay, I'm turning this in way early, so I'm gonna incur some debt. It's gonna have some negative equity. So I'm like, whatever. It's there's no way it's gonna be so much that I'm not at least saving a little bit of money. Turns out, because of that negative equity, I was only going to save $70. But I was like, fuck it. That number's eventually going to go down, or that number's eventually going to go up, how much I'm saving, because I'm going to pay off that negative equity throughout making payments. And also better gas mileage. I was going to just get another cross-check. Mm-hmm. So they're like, okay, well, we'll do this tomorrow. We'll get you all turned in and all that. Get you into a cross-check tomorrow. Today is tomorrow. So I go there after my dentist appointment, which I got 3 fillings today, by the way.
Oh.
Yeah.
powering through a podcast.
Oh yeah, I'm still feeling a little bit of the numbness because they numbed me in 3 different spots.
Okay. You know what I was gonna say, but I thought it was just the beer.
Huh?
A little bit of I could kind of tell,
Oh yeah.
like with your speech, and I thought, well, maybe he's already had a beer before we started.
No.
No.
This is my first one. First one in a couple days. So I did that, and then I went straight over to Rorman to get all that squared away. Waited for another 2 hours.
Of course you did.
Yes. Only for them to say, hey, in order to make this happen, we need you to pay $1,000 down. I was like, what? They're like, well, your credit score has dramatically decreased, which it has, and that's why I got the assent when I did, because I knew my credit score was going to decline hardcore because of this debt relief program I'm in. So they're like, the bank said they want $3,000. We, Bob Rorman, agree to eat $2,000 of that and pay it ourselves. You have to pay $1,000 upon signing. And I'm like, I can't do that. There's not anybody you can borrow from. I'm like, nope. I'm not going to borrow, and if I did, if I did have somebody to borrow from, I'm not going to borrow from. Just not going to do it, so I guess I'm just going to keep the assent.
My lease is up. And for people wondering why we lease, we have a special lease program through our work.
Yeah.
So it's a little bit different than just leasing it outright. We get some perks with that.
Yeah.
But my lease is up in October, and I need to go in next week, probably wait 2 hours, to figure out my options. What is this going to be? Because they tell you that, you pay on your payment for 3 years. If you choose to buy it, which they heavily discourage because they want to get you in another new one, because for them that counts as a sale. It's all logistics. It's all bureaucracy.
How did we get on this subject?
We just launched into it.
I feel like I was going somewhere with that.
Maybe, but before we leave it, I don't mind keeping my car. I actually kind of like it.
Yeah.
This was the first Crosstrek that we've had.
I love Crosstrek. I love the Crosstrek.
At first I had an Impreza, which is like a Crosstrek like without stilts.
I love the Crosstrek I was gonna get.
Well, between 2 of my cars, because we have 2 of them, we have 2 Crosstreks, that equals 1 of his. That's the Ascent. He got a nice Ascent.
On top of it being like the most expensive car we have, it's even more expensive because of all the customizations that were done to it.
Yeah.
Which it was the only car on the lot. It was the only Ascent on the lot that met my specs. It just happened to have a bunch of extra shit to it too.
Yeah, so I don't mind keeping mine. I just got to figure out if we can get the payment close to what I'm already paying. That way it's affordable. And then I think they said that, you pay so much and then they just put that much towards the down payment. So that way I wouldn't have to, hopefully, put any more down on it. If I do, I'm just going to get another lease.
Yeah.
And I'm going to wait. I'm going to time it and wait, like I did last time, to where I have no, multiple payments per check, because part of what we have to do, our work will pay the taxes. So that way we don't. But we still need to pay that. So if your payment plan is for X amount of weeks. And so on the last one, I timed it, I turned it in, within the day or so that it was up, and got into another one. The issue with that is that my wife got there before me, told the dude what she wanted, and he hooked her up with a badass, top-of-the-line Crosstrek that I didn't know how much it was until we started doing paperwork. And we'd already been there for 3 hours.
Oh, my.
The only reason I agreed to it was because I didn't want to go through this, and we were near the end. We were reaching that final hour that this had to be done. And we'd already spent so much time. We took it on a test drive. He about gave my wife a heart attack. She about punched him in the face, because it has that the eyesight where it auto corrects the wheel.
I turned that off.
Right, which she does too. But he wanted to show her that, so obviously he reached over to grab the wheel.
Oh,
away from her
What
in
an idiot.
traffic. And
Do you remember this guy's name?
No.
I remember how we got on the subject, by the way.
Well, good. All right.
Carry on.
This guy was really into guitars.
Okay.
We talked. He called me within a week or two. He goes, "Hey man, how you liking that cross track?" I'm like, "Yeah, we like it. It's all right." And then he's like, "So I bought a new guitar." Oh my gosh, it's like, he finds out that we like similar music, rock music, whatever, and he's asking me about this and that. He's into guitar players. He's into even some heavier metal stuff because he likes the guitar players and whatnot. And he's buying like all these different guitars, and I'm just like, what Pandora's box did I just open that this guy suddenly is my best friend?
Yeah.
And I'm just like, I would, we both talk, me and my wife, we would love to turn that Crosstrek in and get something cheaper, but probably similar situation. We'll just eat it. If I can keep this car and will not cost me a dime more, I'm going to do it. But also, if I get another new one, it cannot cost me any more than what I'm paying now.
See, when I traded my Crosstrek, my last Crosstrek in, I actually got paid back.
Did you really?
Yeah. I got paid like $450.
Okay, because he actually told me that my Crosstrek is in high demand, like last year, because last year was when we got hers. And he was like, yeah, I bet you I can hook you up. We love to have that back.
Oh, yeah.
And so I don't want to give it back to him. I love the color. It has a name. I named my cars. It's on my Bluetooth.
I used to name my cars.
Okay, so the Impreza was the Normandy SR1. So when I got the Crosstrek, which is a slightly bigger Impreza, this is the Normandy SR2.
Did you name your first car? Your very first car?
My very first car, the Corsica? No, I did not.
Okay. How about you? You ever name your cars?
No, he named my current one Tonka, which I accept.
Tonka, yes.
Yeah.
I was pulling up. Of course, I was running a little bit late today, and I see the big yellow truck. I'm like, well, Tonka's here. That's good. All right.
The fucking play school.
Hey, man, that thing looks like Tonka could take a beating, and it looks like that truck already has
for sure.
And can take some more.
So my first car was a 95 Grand Prix.
Okay.
Green. Dark green.
I had a dark green car, but carry on.
Can you guess the name?
No.
No guess? The Green Supremacist.
Ah!
Okay. I stole it from my friend Taya. She named her first car, which was a white car, the white supremacist.
All right.
She's not racist whatsoever or anything like that. It's just funny.
All right, so like
we're edgy.
my first car was a 94 Corsica.
Okay.
Held together by a couple like bolts and some super glue.
Hell yeah.
In fact, I had the brights on one night and went to go turn them off, and then the light switch broke, and I couldn't turn the brights off.
The only thing, so the only ghetto ass things about my car was I didn't have a passenger side window.
The only
not window, mirror. Sorry,
mirror.
That's a lot better.
Yeah,
There
that's
you
a
go.
lot better.
Yeah.
I didn't have that.
Holy shit.
And my heater knob and like temperature knob and like the mode knob, no knob, just like the bare like little tiny sliver of metal. So I had a pair of pliers.
Hell yeah! So my light,
which are in my locker at work.
my light switch would fall off. So like I'd turn them on or turn them off, and it'd fall off sometimes. But then, so when I had my brights on one day coming home from seeing my now wife, it was like middle of the night, Saturday night, and there's a car coming. So courteous, right? Click.
Yeah. Oh no!
The indicator switch came off?
No. When I went to go pull my brights,
Right.
yeah,
The whole thing. The
Yeah.
stick.
and then I tried to click what was left, and it wouldn't do anything.
Jesus.
So this guy's like,
So you're just in
bright.
You're just in perpetual asshole mode.
And of course, I'm too nice of a guy, which I'm like,
Turn
what
your
do I-
lights off.
Well, I'm like, I don't know what to do. So instead of turning my hazard lights on, which would be the real like smart thing to do, I just started turning my turn signals on one at a time really
Jesus.
fast. So that they probably thought I was an even bigger asshole.
Oh my god, this guy is fucking high.
Oh man! And
Light
okay,
show.
so I had that car, and then I had the green car was a '96 Ford Probe. Which I turned in to get the Impreza, right? And I was the talk of Bob Rohrman that day because the guy that worked there, I can't remember his name, Tim Archer. Do you remember Tim? A big dude. He did the financial stuff there. He loved Ford Probes. He would go to Ford Probe car shows.
That's a thing.
There's a whole fan base for Ford Probe, and he's been to them. And the thing is, the Ford Probe, mine, it needed work. It had some problems, but cosmetically, mostly, it was okay. The rear bumper had been replaced, and the paint was no longer a perfect match. But this is one of those cars that had those lights that would, come up from underneath. And a lot of those mechanisms fail over time. So then you just stick it in place. This one still worked. Buddy, he was excited. And I don't know if he bought it, but he said he was thinking about it. And I hope he did. I really hope he did, because they definitely hooked me up. And I'm hoping they can again. I always get so nervous when I go in there because they're salesmen.
Well, of course.
Yeah.
They're salesmen. And they act and they talk a certain way. And I'm not saying I got swindled last time. I'm just saying they negotiated started before I got there. And I was unaware of what part of the negotiation was. I'm not saying he took advantage of my wife, but I think he took advantage of my wife. Of her ignorance. And next time, I will be there and I will dictate what we're going to get and how I want. Because we are paying more for that car than what I want. It is a nice car. It is a flashy car. It is decked out. We love it. We were going to keep it, and then we're having another kid, and she's going to go back to a bigger car. So, waste of time.
You going to get in a set?
No. No. Fuck
He's got
no.
one for sale.
I do not, no. We're going to go back to the Forester.
Okay.
Yeah.
Forester, I like the new Foresters.
Haven't seen the brand new ones.
The sport's nice.
We liked the one that we had. She was looking to downsize a little bit, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so that's when we looked into because she liked my car, and we looked at the Crosstreks and how we got into the problem that we're in. But it's not as massive as a problem that he has when he has one car that equals two of mine. At least we have two vehicles. Yeah, I'm not trying to throw you.
While we're on this subject of cars, do you remember the first time you were pulled over?
Yes.
Yeah?
Yes.
Tell me about it.
Okay, so
Let's do these stories.
all right. So I was driving
Oh,
back.
God.
I was driving back from.
Mine's really dumb.
Well, mine is too.
Oh, sweet.
Okay, I mean dumb, not
You're
on
going
my
to like
part.
mine.
No, it was dumb on my part.
Okay, no, mine's not dumb on my part.
Mine was just ignorance.
Mine is dumb and ignorance on the officer. Yeah.
Yeah, let's hear it.
So I'm coming home from Indiana from seeing my girlfriend, now my wife. Same story, almost as but different car. I was in I don't know, maybe I wasn't, but it wasn't the same night as the bright light situation. Okay, so I'm on my way home, and I'm getting through Hoopston, where I went to high school, and some of the old stopping grounds. Where I lived was a town 12 miles past that, so Hoopston was like near the finish line for me. I mean, this was an hour and a half drive just to come over each and every Saturday to see my girlfriend, and then come back home, and which I would actually gain time back because you cross the state line and you're an hour behind now. It wouldn't be that. It wasn't that bad. It was kind of cool because I would just I'd go home and chill out for a little bit, go to bed, and then chill out for Sunday, right? So I'm heading through Hoopston, and it's one of those things. Let's see if I can do this. We're still talking on the mic. There we go. That way I'm sitting on the cord. So it's one of these things where I'm traveling this way, as I hit the mic, damn it, and he's going this way. We're on opposite sides of the road, and I see him. I look at him. Of course, when you see a cop, what do? You're eyeing that son of a bitch.
Oh, absolutely. There are times when I'll be driving, Miranda's talking, and I'll be like, "Stop talking." Just
yeah. You are side eyeing that dude.
Yep.
He may not even be looking at you, but you're like, "What are you doing?" You might not even be doing anything wrong.
Yeah, absolutely.
But you're still on edge. So I looked at him and I saw my rearview mirror. And he swung that car around so fast. I wasn't speeding. I looked down. I'm like, okay. He pulls me over. Keep my composure. I'm tired. I don't really drink other than on a rare occasion.
This show.
Usually when I come over, I have a beer. But I don't drink. So I'm like, and he's like, do you know why I pulled you over? I'm like, not a clue.
Because you're a dick.
You're a dick.
And he said
wrong
my
answer,
license plate light was out.
Oh, that's...
Did you know that? And I said, no, sir, I did not. Can I see your license and your license, registration, proof of insurance? So I give him my license. I find my registration. I give him proof of insurance. And he goes, this doesn't have an expiration date on it. Okay. Well, I was still living with my parents at the time. So my dad, whenever we would get this stuff in, he would show me and says, put this in your glove box.
Yeah.
You know? And I did. I gave him exactly the papers. So now I'm digging into that glove box and I'm sweating. And I'm looking and I find another one. I give it to him. He goes, this is expired. So then he goes, I'm sitting there sweating. I'm like, what the heck? Did my dad give me the wrong paper? What's going on? I did exactly what my dad told me to do. Of course, I'm like 18, 19 years old.
Yeah.
Cop comes back. Goes, well, I'm going to let you off with a warning. Make sure you get this light fixed. And make sure you get the right papers for your insurance. You have enough documentation to make me believe you have insurance. Like, granted, what? You can just look up the damn policy number, right? So, anyway, I get home and I tell my dad, because my dad, he was usually up anyway. My dad, like, never sleeps. And I said I got pulled over, and he said that this paper wasn't, like, I brought all the stuff in. He goes, and he's looking at it. He goes, which one did you give him? And I said, he goes, because this one's old, you should have threw it away. I'm like, I'm sorry, I didn't know. I thought I did, maybe I didn't. You know, obviously I didn't. And I'm like, I gave him this one first because it looked a little different. He goes, expiration date's right here. He goes, who was this asshole? And I said his name. He goes, that son of a bitch, I know his dad.
Ain't that always the case?
And so that was the first time. The only other time I've been pulled over, coming back from band practice, when I was with Traxxas and when we restarted up, it was me and my wife going through Attica. Dude pulls up. He's like, "Hi," like he goes, "How you doing? Can I see your license and registration?" Oh, okay. He goes, "Heading home? Where you come from?" I said, "I have band practice in Illinois." He looks. He goes, "Is that your guitar in the back?" Yeah. He goes, "I play guitar in a band myself." Like what kind of music you play? And I said, "Rock." He goes, "Awesome." He goes, "Well, I pulled you over. You have a license plate light out." I'm like, God damn it! He goes, "Were you aware?" I said, "No, sir." I'm like, I don't make it a habit of doing an 18-point inspection on my damn car. He goes, "I feel you." Because I'll be right back. He goes, "Just get that taken care of." So I got home. We were on second shift. Went right to Walmart, got that light, installed it immediately.
Nice.
That is the dumbest reason to ever be pulled over.
I got one for that. Let's hear you, John.
First time I was ever pulled over. All right, you guys know where Granville is?
No.
Granville?
All right, you know where Fort Wyattnon is?
Yes.
Yes.
All right, so if you keep taking that road to the west, eventually you'll come upon, there's a T in the road, and it goes right to a bridge over the Wabash. And then just beyond that bridge is an access point where you can put a boat in the water. And then off that access point is a trail that is completely illegal. And that trail goes down the river for a ways. And there's a nature preserve there. It is unmarked. Did not know it was a nature preserve. I have a girl in the truck, and we are in four-wheel drive off the road back on that trail. And it's night. And there is both liquor and beer in the cab. And coming back up towards the access point to get back on the road, go back to campus. And I'm underage, by the way. Both of us are.
Naturally.
see headlights on the trail back to the access point, the actual, like the driveway. And so, erring on the side of caution, I turned my lights off. Blue and red lights turn on. Shit. So, turn my lights back on, make my way over the dirt back to the gravel, and it's a conservation officer, and license registration, etc. He asked if I know it's a nature preserve. I said no. And he asked if I had permission to off-road there, already knowing the answer, which is obviously no. And goes away to do his, make sure that the license is correct and all that. Comes back, and he wants to know if there's any alcohol in the car. And I'm still in the Army at this point in time, so I'm quite used to dealing with officers, authority figures. And thank fuck for that, because I just straight-faced, right, eye contact and everything. No, sir. And he went, all right, fucking, I'm going to give you a off-roading without permission, which is a infraction. But it should be a trespassing felony. I'm like, shit. And then he asks, I see you're from Rossville. Do you know Mr. Gick? And I was like, the PE teacher? And he goes, yeah, it's brother-in-law. And I was like, well, shit, that is not the only time that knowing people from Rossville has gotten me out of deep shit. Fucking, he came back, we shot the shit for an uncomfortably long amount of time, because I'm like, I want to leave before you notice the Sam's Adams sticking up from behind the console. And, fucking made it out of there clean. Oh my god, that was terrifying. That was the first time I was pulled over. Off-roading without permission and trespassing with alcohol in the car underage at night in a nature preserve.
Wow.
Yeah. Winner.
Yeah. So my first time.
Mm-hmm.
All right. I got my license my senior year. I was
Jesus.
I was 17. It took me a while. I had no reason to drive. Delphi, I could walk everywhere. The only reason I got my license was because my mom was tired of driving me back from her house every other week.
Thought you had no reason to drive.
So my dad would take me there and she would drive me back. And she was like,
he didn't have a reason to drive because they would drive it, and she
absolutely
just got tired of it. So then
she's like, I'm not gonna drive. I'm not gonna drive you anymore, until you get your until you get your permit. I'm like, fuck, okay. So
Tie a knapsack up on a stick.
So my dad,
Ride the rails.
I get my permit.
I'm running away.
My dad buys me a car. Buys me the Grand Supremacist, or the Green Supremacist.
The Grand
Supremacist.
Are you in the fucking KKK? Is there something we need to know?
He buys me the Green Supremacist. It sits in the driveway for the longest time because it's not plated. he didn't plate it until I think 3 months after I got my license. So all summer it sat there, and then I finally get my license in September. Then he finally gets it plated. Well, in the meantime, before he got it plated, I was driving his car, which was a white Grand Prix, not the white Supremacist.
Right. Yeah.
It was a 2003 Grand Prix, and it had automatic lights. So when it's nighttime, the headlights turn on. The 95 Grand Prix did not have automatic lights, and I did not know this. So the very first time I drove it to my work at Monocle's Pizza. I closed that night. I get out. I'd never driven it in the dark before. This is my first time driving it. So I start to pull out, and there's a cop sitting. Okay, so you know Delphi.
Yeah.
You know where Monocle's is?
Yeah.
Right down the hill. So right across the street is like this big old storage, like garage place.
Yeah.
And the cops usually like to sit there and speed trap that shit. So there's a cop sitting there, and I'm sitting at the edge of the road waiting to pull out, and I see this cop sitting there just blinking his headlights. And I'm like, is he just like letting me know he's there? Like,
warning, cop.
I was
it's
like,
me.
that's awful polite of a cop to do. Like, that's I've never okay.
He was like, turn your lights on.
Yeah, basically, he was giving me the heads up. Like, so I'm like, but I could see just fine.
Well, sometimes if you have the street lights and then even the moon, if that's bright enough. Like,
so the crazy thing
I've done that.
I knew I had to flip a knob. They had a little knob.
Oh, Jesus. You didn't even know which one to do.
I knew I had to flip a knob, so I flipped it once. And that was just my little...
Parking lights?
So he
Yeah, my
thinks you're
parking
just
lights.
this asshole.
So
Fine.
I thought those were my lights. Not specifically those two lights, but I thought flipping it once would be my headlights because I could see just fine. And I thought I had them on. And I thought the next level was the brights. So I was like, I'm not turning those on. Obviously, I'm in town.
This dude's like blinking. He's like, "Wah! Oh!"
So that's how
asked
my
for
ascent
it.
would be. But no, so I'm like, okay, so I just drive off, start going up the hill towards the school.
Jesus.
Next thing I know, I got berries and cherries in
God.
my fucking rear view mirror. I'm like, what? What did I do? And I was so. I guess, or maybe I hadn't. It wasn't plated yet. Maybe I just drove it because. So, he talked to me. He's like, "Hey, the reason I'm pulling you over is because you didn't have your lights on. I tried to tell you, but I was like, yeah, I was wondering why you were blinking your headlights at me." So he let me off with a warning. Like a week later, I did not tell my dad, despite it only being a warning and it being a minor thing.
Was it a
whatever.
written warning?
Yeah, it was just or no, it wasn't a written warning. It was verbal. It was a verbal warning. For whatever reason, I just didn't tell my dad. I'm like, he doesn't need to know about this. Next week or two, my dad's like, "So, did you get pulled over last week?" I'm like, "What? How did you know?" He's like, "Well, the officer, my insurance agent, the green supremacist used to be his car. It was like a family car that got passed around the siblings and all that." And
So he recognized the car.
no, he ran the plates and it came up in Kyle's name. The guy's name is Kyle Groniger. He's my insurance agent as well. So they were at a party together, and he's like, "Hey, caught your son without his headlights on." He's like, "I don't have a son." He's like, "Yeah, it's your old green Grand Prix." He's like, "Oh." So Kyle tells my dad and so forth.
Small town.
Yeah,
right there.
small town
absolutely.
shit. Yeah. So yeah, that's the first time I got pulled over. I've been pulled over way more than twice. I only have one speeding ticket though, and it was 76 and a 55. And I had just got done passing a semi, so it's like, fuck you. I was starting to come down from that.
Well, like, and some of the semis are going so fast within 55 parameters. Like, it's one of those things where, like, you start to go to pass, and then you realize, I got to go a lot faster.
Yeah.
Because the semi is going like 65. So then you go around and you go like up to 70, 75, and then you can start slowing down yourself. I've actually got to the point where I get in front of him and then slow down, and then he passes me. Just because of where we're at and how I started off, like, when I turned on. But they never get pulled over. It's always us.
So speaking on the subject of brights, whenever I'm taking the kids to Rossville in the morning or I'm driving at night or anything like that, I don't drive with I don't use my brights anymore. Not to mention the eyesight kicks the brights off if somebody's coming. So I just get tired of it going.
Yeah.
Just on, off, on, off. But like I'll just be driving and somebody will be like, blink. I'll be like, my brights aren't on. And then next thing I know, they're just like, fuck you. Boom. And I'm just like, all right, pal. Mine are a lot brighter. 'Cause I got those LEDs.
Yeah, what's funny is I remember a buddy of mine, he used to, back in school, he worked in the working with like the work program where like you'd go to school half a day, go to work.
Yeah.
And he worked at McDonald's.
You know what ours was called?
Huh?
Ice.
Ice. Ours was D-O.
D-O?
D-O. Just D, period,
Oh.
O, period.
Damn.
Not Ronnie J.
No, ours was ice, which I think is hilarious with the whole
With the whole Trump thing.
current
In
events.
immigration. Okay, so no, he was coming home because he had to close, right? And he's tired, been working all day. And then he's just one of those things where he's like, he's driving his car. He's almost back home. And there's a semi coming. He's like, son of a bitch. Goddamn. Flashes him. And the semi waited until he was like right here. And he's like, ah! He said he about drove off the road. He like whipped it. And
No, I don't fuck around with that. If you're going to bright me and I know my brights aren't on, you're gonna get some brights. You're gonna know the meaning of brights.
It is hilarious because, like, what people will do to communicate. Because I'll be driving along, and instead of doing a bright, they'll turn their lights off. They'll flash them off. Like, cop that way. Like, thanks, pal.
I need to look up like the universal signals and what they mean, because like there's some for like, oh, there's deer.
Speaking of signals, have you ever seen a guy in a car do the motorcycle wave? The little wave that they all do to each other, it's like sign of...
Have you seen the Miata wave?
No.
So Miatas, they have those flipper headlights too.
Okay.
And they do that. They'll wave with their headlights.
I just love like the bikers have like, we're both bikers. It's like...
Well, there's the Subi wave. There's the fucking...
What's the Subi wave?
I don't know. I know there is one.
Because I probably have got it, and I have no idea
There's
what
one
they're
for
doing.
Jeeps.
It's like bordering on gang signs.
There's Jeeps, motorcycles, and Subarus. And apparently Miatas. I'll look that up. I'll look up the
What's
Miata
the Well, yeah, I want to know what the Subaru one is, because like there's a lot of Subarus in the area. You know?
Oh, yeah. There's...
Like, I don't have that much of a pride for driving a Subaru. I like my car. I think it's cool, and I really enjoy it during the...
I'm going to pop this over here and YouTube that shit.
Yeah, screen capture that shit.
Where is it?
I don't know. There it
There
is.
it goes.
Took a minute.
Yeah, see it. Pop, pop. Yep.
What's up, dog?
I'll just leave that there for a minute.
That's like them. That's like them doing. It's like the car version of like raising your eyebrows up and down.
Me out alive. Yeah. While we're moving on, I ran across a College Humor video, which is probably gonna get kicked off our stream. But I just thought I didn't fully watch it. I just had to like fucking. I wanted to save it for this episode.
Okay.
But yeah, it's the Game of Thrones finale rewritten with an AI.
Oh, so the AI did it? Hell
Yeah.
yes.
So we're gonna go ahead and watch this. Pow.
Winterfell's best friend, Sansa sits alone on top of her prized Valyrian eggs. Jon Watson carrying Sam in a pouch.
I met the Lord on the wall, Sam, what's morning. I hope you two will think we'll talk about friendship.
Sansa gets closer to him and then takes out a large spear and pushes it into Jon's stomach. He looks concerned.
You've never killed me before.
I hate this.
Jon's eyes slowly blink and he loses.
Could you imagine I could be smarter than anyone here? It's a strange thing I've been doing ever since Ramsay received my death dog.
In the background of this, Podrick is having tea with Podrick. Podrick and Podrick, but Brienne grabs his hand. That's why I just brewed you. Podrick nods and gets sullen. At the foot of the cliff of disbelief, Tyrion and Brienne are both sitting in shock.
My brother tells me you're guilty of forgiving him. It's a risky scheme, Lord. I'm not alone. I'm a tree. Hi. Yes, I am also a Modo. There's no middle. There's only as I said.
Brienne jumps out of his chair with his working leg and throws Tyrion with a sequence of very beautiful flip
I'll do that again, you rat me out. You gonna rat me out?
Interior.
The other one.
Jeffrey are standing next to Tyrion dressed as a horse. Arya is scrubbing the old horse with a long blonde face from her face bag.
She's a liar and a thief, but she'd kill you as long as you keep away from her.
Arya gulps pie after pie and disrespectfully. After an hour, Gendry's stomach growls.
Cry at some.
I am beloved. I can't die.
Stupid cat. Everything you think is bad. This is a huge Gendry insult.
Arya punches Gendry down through the floor and Daenerys and Jon enter looking worried. Jon sits on his bed and sighs deeply. Someone must regret, but why is it always Jon Snow?
Dragons. They'll help.
Jon hesitates and then nods. He hugs Daenerys as Varys enters.
Varys, come here and hug myself and my nephew.
Thank you, Your Grace, my Lord Stark. But I must admit, my legs suffer.
Varys sits and stares at what he has become. Dany begins soaking Varys' long legs.
My life is rich and powerful. I could do violence to all world, but I'm trying to be human.
From outside, thunder rumbles and a shadow moves towards Jon. Jon unsheaths his arm and starts fighting the rumble. He is clearly outnumbered. He goes berserk with tears. Jon Snow falls to the ground and goes silent for a moment, then gets to his feet and speaks to the camera.
Now you know what happens. It's all for me, but I'm not the king of you. Your allies and his war for treason. Thank you for that. Have a safe journey to the throne.
Everyone else bows. They begin laughing and eating breakfast. Breakfast is
Oh, that was great.
I love the AI. You know.
You draw from all.
Oh, hey, Mark Hamill.
No, Mark Hamill.
Did you see that Mark Hamill wants to play Vesemir in The Witcher Netflix?
Interesting.
Really?
Yeah, he has no idea what Vesemir is or The Witcher in general, but I think he's a fantastic fit.
I think he's a fantastic voice actor. So
Did you hear that he thoroughly regrets his criticism of The Last Jedi?
oh yeah,
Right when The Last Jedi came out, he still hadn't quite accepted it. And then he basically, for him, he's like it took me some time to really because he was seeing and reading his parts, and he didn't see everything put together, and he saw it and went, I was wrong. So then he came out and he's like, I put my foot in my mouth. Because everyone's like, see? He hates it too, and now he's just pretending he doesn't hate it.
yeah.
Because they told him to shut up.
and that was a big part of all the Star Wars hate. They're like, oh, Mark Hamill hates it. We can hate, so that justifies our hate.
Right. Well, really, he just felt like that's not what he envisioned for the character. And then that's a lot of what they did too. He goes, but he's like, when you start putting it together, it's like, we can't have a Jedi teaching younger Jedi because we've already seen that. We can't, so then you start putting yourself into new ideas. You've never seen a Jedi quit and walk away on film before.
What about a Benjamin Button Jedi teaching an older Padawan?
You have a youngling teaching an old man. Hey man, that could be the secret. Did you hear about they've actually have different names for the 9th movie of Star Wars in Japan, and then I can't remember what country in Europe, but in Japan it's called Dawn of Skywalker. And in the European country it's called Skywalker Resurrection. It's
Fucking Anakin forever.
So then people are like, what does this mean? A mystery. This is...
Man, we're half a year away from that.
I know. Things are... did you see that Endgame just passed the original Avatar run?
Oh, okay.
Because Avatar got re-released. No, not the final one. Avatar got re-released.
No, we're 38 mil away from that.
Yeah, but Avatar made another 38, whatever, when it got re-released. And this weekend is when the re-release is, and it's not. I don't see it coming to our theaters yet. So, I think it's primarily AMC. But
that's a bummer. I was gonna try to take my stepson.
I was thinking about going again, just because I wanted to beat Avatar.
Yeah,
but I did get my IMAX tickets for Spider-Man next week. So,
ooh,
that IMAX
Wednesday.
There's an IMAX here in town now, right?
Yep, that's when I got it at noon on Wednesday. I'll be going and checking that out.
Okay.
You're officially an old person going to a movie on noon.
I would rather do that now because one, there's less people in there.
That's true. That is true.
And two, there's just I could go in the evening, but go for a 2-hour movie. It's only 2:00 in the afternoon. I got so much more time to go and do stuff. It'd be fun because that is the third. Stranger Things comes out on the 4th, on the 4th.
Yep.
So probably at midnight. Which obviously, I'm not gonna stay up that late. I am old. I don't stay up late anymore. I can't. I physically can't. I think about all the stuff I could be doing. Like, I could play games. I could watch a movie.
Oh, yeah, I know the feeling.
Like, I actually started, I watched the movie and started the FF15. Because you have to watch the movie first. There's a whole Game Addicts, that's a trope of watch the movie first. Because quite literally, I mean, like, the way they start FF15, it's like, we're 4 boys pushing their car down the road with Stand By Me playing. It's like, my king just sent away. I got to go meet my bride. And then
At the other Winterfell.
Like, while we're gone, like, an empire comes in and, like, kills my dad. Like, overthrows the country. And it's like, the empire. Niflheim. And then, like, the whole time, it's like, you're supposed to be wondering what's going on, and you're actually supposed to not have a whole lot of information. But I want to know who the damn Empire was. Who is the Empire? Why do they exist, and why do they want this place? And the movie tells you in the first 30 seconds.
Oh.
It's so stupid. I was, like, ripping my hair out. But I want to give this game its fair chance, because I heard it's actually a pretty good game. And it's complete, you know, because I played 10 hours of it and still didn't know who the enemy of the game was. But the movie, you know, I didn't start it with the movie, so I did it again. So I'm sitting there watching the movie, you know. I'm a badass. I started at 9 p.m. You know, I'm going to stay up late. It's Saturday.
Oh, yeah. Did you get your parents' permission?
No.
Fuck yeah.
Fuck yeah.
I'm a rebel. My wife's going to bed early, so I'll be by myself.
Oh, man.
I can watch whatever I want. I can eat whatever I want. She's like, I'm like an hour in the movie now. It's like 10 o'clock. She goes to bed. I'm like, fuck yeah. And then I wake up and it's like 10:30. I'm like, oh. I guess I'll go to bed now. So I got up, went to bed. She was still awake. She's like, what are you doing? I'm like, I'm going to bed. I fell asleep.
I couldn't do it.
I couldn't. I was sitting there in the chair, you know, and I was all comfy, and I'm like, I'm actually enjoying the movie, you know, because even though like the movie's awesome, it's brain fart now. Ned Stark, Sean Bean plays the king, but only in the movie, not the game.
What movie?
FF15 Kingslave. That is basically like the story before the game.
Okay.
You know, like it shows like the king getting killed and betrayed, and the Empire crushing the city, which you will hear about when you play the game, because the game starts with the prince getting sent away with his buddies, his guard. You know,
yeah.
You guys are gonna go out, and you guys are, you know, he's betrothed to another princess, and it's weird because there's like all this monarchy shit, but it's all modern. It's got like Audi cars and like it's different. It's like a weird combination of technology and still old style. But yeah, like the movie also has Aaron Paul from Breaking Bad. He plays the main character in the movie, which you can just almost sometimes you can't tell it's him, and other times like, hey. We gotta get to the king,
bitch.
Like, and then Lena Headey, she plays the princess, who is like a teenager. But like, they got all these badass big name actors for the movie, but none of them are in the game. Like,
speaking of movies, pre-stories to games, The Witcher. I'm really, really excited for the Witcher Netflix series.
Mm-hmm.
Is there a release date on that yet?
Yeah, it's in late December.
December?
It'll be around our Christmas shutdown.
I really, really hope that they do it justice, because it's a fantastic story. I don't know if either of you read the books.
I haven't read.
Mike's the one that's read the books.
I don't know.
Okay.
I don't think he's even read the books.
He said he did, and it's good enough for me because it lets me talk about him. But man, you guys haven't read it. There's not much to talk about without just monologuing for a while. So next topic. What time is it?
It is 12 till 8.
Jesus, I've got it. So, dropping a shitload of money that I've been saving for a while now to fix vehicles. got to get Shannon needs 4 new tires, and tire pressure sensors in one of the wheels, and the Chevy needs a new starter, and then the Ford, I'm about to drop $2,000 on the Ford, getting the rear suspension fixed, the new tires, the 33s mounted, and new IDM injector driver module. So it comes with a 100-volt stock, but there's up to 120 volt if you go forward in years that are just interchangeable with it, and it higher voltage, higher frequency responds better. It puts more diesel in the chambers, more power on the wheels. It's going to be faster. It's going to be bigger. I'm really excited. But the result is I have to pick Shannon up on the far side of the West Side Mire in 12 minutes.
All right.
Yeah.
Are we ready to call this then?
Yeah.
All right. I feel like it's been a good one.
It's been a good one. We didn't talk about cooking, but
No.
there's always next time.
We cooked. It was good. Yeah, I think the only problem I had with my burgers was I overseasoned.
Over-seasoned?
Overseasoned
Is
and
that a
overcooked. Just a slight overseasoning, not much. So, yeah. I made burgers, and that's
I gathered.
he was like, let's talk about that. We didn't talk about it, but here we are. Yeah, thank you guys for joining. Brandon, quick plug.
Yeah, thank you once again for having me on. I'll be on here again soon as we approach 100. And, you guys can check my podcast out at GameAddictsPodcast.com, as well as podcast services around the globe, including Apple Podcasts. Spotify is a big one for us now, including our hosts at Podbean. We're on iHeartRadio now. We're on Stitcher.
Very
We're
nice.
on TuneIn. We're on Google Podcasts. And of course, we're on YouTube as well. Look up, again, Game Addicts Podcast. We pop up. That's basically your one-stop shop for our video, audio. We have gaming stuff. We do live reactions to stuff when we can. So like some of the E3 press conferences, we actually watch that live. Tyler was a part of that from here on Podcastrophe. We actually did a 2-part E3 review, and he's on part 1. So give that a good listen. And then we're also live streaming. We live stream every single Wednesday that we do a show. We're not doing a show this week. We're taking a week off. But we're over there on twitch.tv/GameAddictsPlay. And on our social medias, we're Game Addicts Play on Facebook, Twitter, and then Instagram as well. I'm trying to be more active. I'm trying to post stuff. I'm trying to be I was interactive during E3, and then I kind of slammed back a little bit. But I'm trying to. It's kind of difficult. It's like, what do I say besides plugging? Well, because you want to come off as more like I'm trying to engage more than I am trying to sell my stuff, but I'm trying to sell my stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, I look forward to being back here for 100.
I look forward to you always being here.
Oh,
I always look forward to
shucks.
We got you gave me some really cool ideas the other day, and I'm hoping to have you here for those. I'm hoping to have you here for a couple of them. I briefly talked to you about
The movie reviews.
Yep.
Sorry. If that was,
Boom!
if that was a secret.
Got to keep them a little
Spoilers.
close to the chest here.
It's okay.
Be
Nobody listens to my
vague.
show.
Fine, I'll keep the other secret. The ones that I know.
Yeah,
Fine.
don't go into detail.
Keep your secrets.
There's an idea. You don't just. You're a terrible card player.
Hey, send me.
You know that family, German Baptist, playing cards.
I'm gonna
sinful.
look up like the sensor beep, and I'm just gonna.
No
put it
playing
right over
cards.
that.
No playing cards.
No playing cards. I
No.
mean, mom and dad have some now.
You couldn't even play Uno.
Uno's different. You can't play poker with Uno cards. You probably could if you tried hard enough, but no one in my family knows how to play
Could you
poker.
play Old Maid?
I could play Old Maid.
Okay.
All right, guys. I'm gonna put like a big sensor over what he just said.
Okay.
It'll be perfect. But I guess thank you, John, for being on the show again.
Thank you, John, for having the show.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah,
I love hosting people in my
Right.
beautiful house in my basement.
Yeah.
It's been a long day. Thank you for listening. If you haven't already, please subscribe to Podcastrophe either on Spotify, iTunes, Stitcher Radio, or Podbean. I just said Raider.
Stitcher Raiders.
Stitcher Raider.
Raider-o.
Yeah, check that out. And thank you to the Journey in the Comics Network for putting up with our shit. Check out Journey in the Comics on all those platforms as well. And be sure to check us out live every Tuesday, roughly around 5:30 or 6 on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. And if that is all, please make every day a big dick day. Bye, guys.
Woke up this morning with my dick in my hand. Girl is to the right of me, just like I planned. It's gonna be a big dick day. 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 Big dick day. It's gonna be a big dick day. It's gonna be a big